Before Islam came, people in Arabia were lost and searching for the truth. Some prayed to many gods, some followed old books, and some just didn't know what to believe. Life was hard, and many felt something big was missing. But in the middle of the silence, there were signs a special message was coming. Were they suffering being Christian, or what was the religion then? Well, this context is divided into chapters, and make sure you watch and listen to the end. Also, please subscribe for more research religion topics like this. Chapter 1: Before the Crescent Rose, Arabia in the pre-Islamic world. A long time ago, before Islam started, Arabia was a big land full of deserts, mountains, and small towns. This was more than 1,400 years ago, in the 6th century. At that time, people lived in tribes, rode camels, traveled through the desert, and followed many different beliefs. There were no big countries or presidents. Every tribe had its own leader, rules, and way of life. Life in the desert. Most of Arabia was hot and dry. There were not many rivers or trees. People lived in tents, took care of animals like goats and camels, and moved from place to place looking for water and food. These people were called Bedouins. They knew how to survive in the desert and were very strong and smart. In other places, some people lived in small towns. The town of Mecca was one of the most important cities in Arabia. It was a busy place where people came to trade, buy, and sell things like spices, cloth, and perfume. Caravans of camels would come through Mecca, bringing goods from faraway lands like India and Africa. Tribes and family. In Arabia, people belonged to tribes. A tribe was like a big family. Everyone in the tribe helped each other. If someone was in trouble, the whole tribe would protect them. This made people feel safe. But sometimes, tribes would fight each other if there was a problem or a disagreement. These fights could last for years. Your tribe was very important. It gave you your name, your home, and your place in the world. If you had no tribe, life was very hard. Beliefs before Islam. Before the Prophet Muhammad brought the message of Islam, people in Arabia believed in many different gods. Most of them were polytheists, which means they believed in many gods. In Mecca, there was a special building called the Kaaba. Inside and around the Kaaba, there were many idols, statues of gods made from stone or wood. People would come from all over Arabia to visit the Kaaba and pray to these gods. Some of the popular gods were Hubal, Al-Ela with Macron T, Al-Uz, and Mant. These were very important to the people, and they believed the gods could protect them and give them good luck. But not everyone believed in idols. There were some people in Arabia who followed Christianity or Judaism. These were people who believed in one God. There were also a few people called Hanifs, who didn't follow any religion but believed there was only one true God, just like Prophet Abraham did. A land ready for change. Even though Arabia had trade, strong tribes, and many beliefs, life was not perfect. Sometimes people were treated unfairly. Women didn't always have rights. The poor were often ignored. People were waiting for something new, something better. That change was coming. Soon, a man named Muhammad would receive a message that would change Arabia, and the whole world, forever. Chapter 2: Gods, Idols, and Sacred Stones, the Pagan Heart of Mecca. Before Islam began, the city of Mecca was already very famous. People from all over Arabia came there to pray, give gifts, and visit a special place called the Kaaba. Today, Muslims know the Kaaba as the most holy place in Islam. But long ago, it was not a place for just one god. It was a place filled with idols, statues of many different gods. What is an idol? An idol is a statue that people pray to. People believed these idols had powers. Some idols looked like people. Others looked like animals. They were made from stone, wood, or clay. People gave them names, made offerings to them, and asked them for help when they were sick, scared, or wanted something good to happen. In Mecca, there were about 360 idols all around the Kaaba. That means there was almost one idol for every day of the year. Who were these gods? Many tribes had their own favorite gods. But some idols were worshipped by many people, especially by the Quraysh tribe, who lived in Mecca and took care of the Kaaba. Here are some of the most well-known gods. Hubal, this was one of the main gods in Mecca. His idol stood inside the Kaaba. He was made of stone and had a golden hand. People would ask Hubal to help them make big decisions, like whether to go to war. Al-Ela with Macron T, she was a goddess many people believed in. They thought she gave people strength and help in hard times. Her idol was kept in a city called Tarif. Al-Uz, this goddess was believed to protect people and give them power. She was worshipped by many strong tribes. Mant, she was the goddess of fate and destiny. People believed she could control what would happen in their future. People would travel long distances to visit these idols. They would bring food, money, and gifts. They would walk around the Kaaba, pray, and ask the gods for things like rain, health, or victory in battle. Why did the Quraysh love the idols? The Quraysh tribe were the caretakers of the Kaaba. Because so many people came to Mecca to worship the idols, the Quraysh became very rich and powerful. They made money from visitors who bought food, clothes, and other goods in the city. They were proud of the Kaaba and the idols. The Quraysh didn't want anything to change. To them, the idols were not just about religion. They were also about business, tradition, and pride. Their fathers and grandfathers had worshipped these gods, and they didn't want to stop. A city waiting for a new message. Even though many people worshipped idols, some Arabs were starting to question them. They wondered, how can a statue made of stone hear our prayers? Some people felt there must be only one true God, who created everything and didn't need a statue. Soon, someone would come with a message that would change everything in Mecca. His name was Muhammad, and he would speak about worshipping only one God, Allah. Chapter 3, The Cross in the Sand, Christianity in Arabia. When we think of Arabia before Islam, many people imagine only deserts, camels, and tribes who worshipped idols. But that's not the full story. Christianity, the religion that follows the teachings of Jesus Christ, was also in Arabia long before Islam began. Yes, there were Christians in Arabia. They lived in the north, the south, and in some towns near Mecca and Medina. Let's explore how they lived, what they believed, and how they helped shape the world before Islam. Who were the Christians? Christians believe in one God and follow the teachings of Jesus, who they believe is the Son of God. They believe Jesus was kind, loving, and full of mercy. Christians prayed in churches and followed a holy book called the Bible. In Arabia, most Christians lived in the north, near the borders of the Roman Empire, today's Syria and Jordan, and in the south, in places like Yemen. These Christians had churches, priests, and even schools where people learned to read and write. Christian tribes and kingdoms. Some Arab tribes became fully Christian. One of the most famous Christian tribes was the Ghassanids, who lived near Syria. They were Arab, but they followed the Christian faith and had close ties with the Roman Empire. In the south, in Yemen, there was a powerful Christian kingdom. One of the famous kings was Abraha, a Christian who wanted to spread his religion across Arabia. He even built a big church in Yemen and hoped people would visit it instead of the Kaaba in Mecca. You might have heard the story of Abraha and the elephants. It is said that he once tried to attack Mecca with a huge army and elephants to destroy the Kaaba. But something strange happened. Birds came from the sky and dropped stones on his army. This story is mentioned in the Qur'an in Surah Al-Fil, the chapter of the elephant. Monks and holy men. Some Christians in Arabia were monks. A monk is a person who leaves the busy world behind to live a quiet life, pray, and get close to God. Monks often lived in caves, small homes, or churches in the mountains. They read holy books and helped people who were sick or poor. One well-known Christian monk was Ba-Ra. There's a story that young Muhammad met Ba-Ra during a trade journey with his uncle. Ba-Ra saw something special in Muhammad and said that he would grow up to be someone very important. A sign of change. Not everyone in Arabia was a pagan. Many people, including Christians, were already worshipping one God. They believed in kindness, mercy, and doing good. Some Arabs listened to Christian stories about Jesus, Mary, and the prophets. These ideas were already preparing Arabia for something new. Soon, the message of Islam would arrive, and many Christians would hear about a new prophet who also believed in one God, Allah. Chapter 4: Scrolls and Synagogues, the Jewish Tribes of the Desert. Before Islam began, not everyone in Arabia worshipped idols. Some people already believed in one God, and they followed holy books and prophets. Among them were the Jewish tribes, who had been living in Arabia for hundreds of years before the Prophet Muhammad was born. Many of these Jewish families lived in a city called Yathrib, which would later be called Medina. They played an important part in the life of the city and helped shape its culture and politics. Who were the Jewish tribes? The Jewish people believe in one God. They follow a holy book called the Torah, which includes the teachings of prophets like Moses, Abraham, and David. They pray in places called synagogues, and they have special rules about food, prayer, and how to treat others. In Arabia, there were a few big Jewish tribes. The most well-known were Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza. These tribes lived mostly in and around Yathrib, Medina. They built homes, farms, and businesses. They grew crops, made goods, and traded with other people in the city. Many of them were also good at writing and reading, which was rare at the time. Life in Yathrib. Yathrib was a city where different groups of people lived. There were Arab tribes who worshipped idols, some people who were looking for the true religion, and the Jewish tribes who followed the Torah. The Jewish tribes had their own schools, where they taught children to read and learn about their religion. They also had synagogues where they prayed to God. They followed their traditions, such as not working on the Sabbath, Saturday, eating only kosher food, and celebrating special holidays like Passover. Because they had been living in Arabia for so long, many of them spoke Arabic just like the other tribes, but they still kept their own customs and beliefs. Power and influence. The Jewish tribes in Yathrib were not weak. Some of them were very powerful. They owned land, had strong fortresses, and made deals with other tribes. They were involved in trade and farming, and some were skilled in making weapons. They were also known for their knowledge. Many Arabs respected the Jewish people for knowing about the old prophets, stories of creation, and the end of the world. Some Arabs even went to them to ask questions about religion. Because of their strength and knowledge, the Jewish tribes were very important in the city. They were part of the balance of power between the Arab tribes. Sometimes they made alliances, peace agreements, and sometimes there were arguments and fights. Waiting for a prophet. Some Jewish people believed that a new prophet would come soon. Their books had old stories about prophets like Moses and promises that another one was coming. Some Jews hoped he would appear in Arabia. So when Prophet Muhammad came with a message of one God, many people thought, could he be the one? But things didn't go as expected, and that's Chapter 5: A Land of Many Faiths, the Religious Melting Pot. Before Islam began, Arabia was not just a land of deserts and camels, it was also full of different religions and beliefs. People believed in many different things. Some worshipped idols, some followed books, and some were still searching for the truth. This mix of religions made Arabia like a melting pot, a place where many ideas were boiling together, ready for something new. Let's explore some of the less-known spiritual paths that existed in Arabia before the Qur'an was revealed. Zoroastrians, people of the fire. In the eastern part of Arabia, near Persia, modern-day Iran, lived a group of people called Zoroastrians. They followed the religion of a man named Zoroaster, who lived many years before. He taught that there is one true God called Ahura Mazda. Zoroastrians believed in a battle between good and evil, and they thought every person had to choose the right path. They also believed in life after death and a day of judgment, ideas that are also found in Islam. Zoroastrians kept fire burning in their temples. The fire was a symbol of light and truth. They didn't worship the fire itself, but it reminded them of God's power and purity. Some Zoroastrians lived in eastern Arabia and worked as traders and craftsmen. Their ideas spread through trade and contact with local people. Hanifs, the one-God believers. Not everyone in Arabia believed in idols or followed known religions like Christianity or Judaism. Some people, called Hanifs, believed in one God and followed the way of Prophet Ibrahim. Hanifs did not have a holy book or a prophet to guide them at the time, but they refused to worship idols. They prayed alone, thought deeply, and wanted to find the true religion. One of the most famous Hanifs was a man named Zayd ibn Amr. He didn't like idol worship and searched for the truth all his life. He believed in one God and spoke out against the unfair treatment of people, especially women and the poor. Many Hanifs believed that a new prophet would come soon. They were waiting, hoping to hear the truth once again. Other beliefs and traditions. In some areas of Arabia, people mix different religions together. They might follow parts of idol worship, add a bit of Jewish or Christian ideas, and also have old tribal traditions. Religion was not clear for many. People were confused and looking for guidance. There were also fortune-tellers, soothsayers, and poets who claimed to hear from the spirit world. People would visit them to ask for advice, but their answers were often unclear or false. The land was ready. With so many beliefs and so much confusion, people started to ask, what is the right way? Who is the true God? Is there a guide who can lead us? The land of Arabia was like dry soil waiting for rain. People's hearts were ready for something new, a clear message, a strong leader, and a pure faith. Soon, Islam would rise and bring that change. Chapter 6: The Silence Before Revelation, a World Waiting for Change. Before the first words of the Qur'an were heard, the world of Arabia felt like it was waiting for something. Many people were not happy with how things were going. Life was hard for many, and there were lots of questions in people's hearts. Even though they didn't know it yet, a big change was coming soon. This chapter is about the signs that something new was about to happen. Let's look at the problems, hopes, and whispers that filled the land just before the Prophet Muhammad received his first message. People were tired of injustice. In many places, strong people took from the weak. Some rich leaders were greedy and cared only about money and power. Poor people were often ignored, and slaves were treated badly. Women didn't have many rights. In some tribes, baby girls were even buried alive because people thought boys were better. Many people felt that this wasn't fair, but they didn't know how to make things better. Fighting between tribes was common. A small problem could turn into a big war that lasted years. People were always scared of being attacked or losing their family in a fight. The world needed justice, kindness, and peace. Religious debates were everywhere. There were many different religions in Arabia: pagans with idols, Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, and Hanifs. But people didn't agree with each other. Some worshipped many gods, but others believed there was only one God. Some followed books like the Torah or the Bible, while others had no book at all. Some thought a new prophet was coming. Others thought prophets had already come and gone. People were confused. Many asked, what is the right path? They were searching for the truth. The Hanifs were looking for God. The Hanifs were special truth seekers. They didn't believe in idols, and they didn't follow other religions either. They were sure that Abraham had taught people to believe in one God, and they wanted to follow his pure path. Some Hanifs lived quiet lives, praying alone in caves or deserts. They thought deeply about life, death, and God. One of them was Prophet Muhammad. Even before he became a prophet, he would go to a cave called Hira to pray and think. It was like the land was quiet, waiting, before something big. Old stories and prophecies. Some people, especially among the Jews and Christians, had old stories about a new prophet who would come. Their holy books spoke of a messenger who would bring light to a dark world. Even people who didn't follow those books could feel that change was near. The way people lived couldn't continue forever. They knew a new voice would rise. But they didn't know who it would be or when it would happen. The calm before the storm. So, just before the Qur'an came, Arabia was full of problems, but also full of hope. People wanted truth, peace, and justice. Some prayed for it. Others waited in silence. And then, one night, in the quiet of a cave, the silence would break. Chapter 7: The Dawn of a New Faith, from Mecca to the World. One quiet night, in a dark cave called Hira, something amazing happened. A man named Muhammad, who often came to this cave to think and pray, heard a voice. It was the voice of Angel Gabriel. The angel told him, "Read." And that moment changed the world forever. This was the first revelation of the Qur'an, the holy book of Islam. A new light had started to shine, and slowly, the world around Muhammad began to change. A simple man with a big message. Before becoming a prophet, Muhammad was known as Al-Amin, which means the trustworthy one. People liked him because he was honest, kind, and never lied. He was not rich or powerful. But he cared about truth, justice, and helping others. After the angel visited him, Muhammad went home shaking. His wife Khadija comforted him and told him that God would never harm a good man like him. Soon, more messages came from Allah, God, and Muhammad realized he was chosen to be a messenger. His job was to tell people to worship only one God, Allah. Be kind to others. Stop worshipping idols. Help the poor and weak. Live a clean and honest life. A big message in a land of many religions. At that time, Mecca was full of idol worship. People had 360 idols around the Kaaba, and many didn't want to change their old ways. Some were rich from trading with visitors who came to pray to the idols. So when Muhammad started preaching about one God, it made people angry. But some people believed him. They liked his message of love, fairness, and truth. These early Muslims included his wife Khadija, his young cousin Ali, his close friend Abu Bakr, and others. As more people joined him, the leaders of Mecca got worried. They tried to stop him. They laughed at him, called him names, and even hurt his followers. But Muhammad did not stop. He kept sharing the message. What happened to the other beliefs? Islam didn't come to erase all faiths. It came to complete the message of earlier prophets like Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Muslims believe that all of these prophets were sent by the same God. But over time, people had changed or forgotten parts of their messages. Islam reminded people, there is only one God. All prophets were messengers of the same God. We must pray, give to the poor, fast, and live a good life. Many Christians, Jews, and others heard about Islam and saw things they recognized. Islam respected the earlier books, but also corrected some beliefs that had changed over time. The message spreads. At first, the message of Islam spread slowly. But after many years of patience and struggle, more and more people accepted it. Later, Muhammad and his followers moved to a new city called Medina, where Islam grew even stronger. From Mecca, the message would one day travel across the world, touching hearts in every land and in every language.
Before the message of Islam came, the world of Arabia was full of questions, hopes, and confusion. People followed many different paths. Some prayed to idols. Some read from holy books. Some were still searching in the dark, hoping for light. From the deserts of Mecca to the hills of Yemen, from the Christian churches to the Jewish synagogues, hearts were waiting for truth. Then, in the quiet of a cave, a voice called out, "Read." And with that one word, a new chapter began. The story of Islam was not just the start of a new religion. It was the answer to the search that had gone on for so long. It brought people together, gave them hope, and showed them a path of peace, faith, and love. Now that we understand the world before Islam, we are ready to explore the journey that changed history forever. Please subscribe and drop a question if any.